And da-da-da-da-da-da! Good time zone, everybody, and welcome back to Horde of Tales. My name is Marcus, also known as the Chindividual, and if I had to pick between pizza or lasagna, I would put the lasagna on the pizza. I am not alone here today. For today's session of our campaign, I am joined with also other culinary fans, and I don't know what kind of culinary habits they have, but I'm quickly going to introduce them around, because I do happen to know that one of them is actually an excellent chef, and I hope to be in her kitchen many more times. It's Ida, who is joining us today.
Hello.
I would have to guess what his favorite foods is. I have some ideas, but we can maybe later check in with him. It's Austin. Hello there, Austin.
Oh, let's make Austin pronounce more complicated Dutch food. Who else do we have
Please
here?
no.
And of course, also probably a fan of great dishes, and as we know, also deliverer of delicious chocolates to me, which is also a great dish, is Caro, who is also here today. So, regarding food, well, not just regarding food, but generally, how are you doing? What are you craving right now? How are things?
There's this pizzeria I used to go to a lot in high school. Name was Gino's on College Point Boulevard before the LIE in Queens. I think it's still there. But my favorite pizza slice was a pizza penne alla vodka. So penne alla vodka is a penne pasta dish with a creamy tomato vodka sauce, and they would put that on the pizza and bake it. So it's like kind of this high kind of pizza. Delicious. It's pretty close to a lasagna on a pizza.
I know Italian who will scream right now.
This is New
Like
York pizza. It is
yeah.
very unique in its own thing. You gotta buy the slice.
That's why I'm saying I know Italian who will scream in your face, very loud.
If they had that pasta, that was really good.
I would love that on a. That sounds so good.
It was so good. And you get extra cheese on top. And because I was very nice, sometimes they threw in an extra garlic knot.
Oh, now that's all I want is to eat that right now. So.
I'll meet you at Gino's.
Sure.
Google if it's still there.
Session's canceled. We're all going to Gino's.
Yep.
Let me book a flight.
Penne alla vodka. I had never heard of that, but it sounds delicious.
You've had it at my house.
Did I?
Yep.
Okay, it's good. She keeps track of that. I've had so many delicious things already at her house. It's hard to keep track of them, but I'm glad she does. Then I have to try it again. Let's say it like that. Well, I'm hungry, but I'm also hungry for adventure at this point. So how about we get ready for today's session and see how things go after we see Ida going through a series of facial expressions of surprise and joy.
Inflation. A pie of penne alla vodka pizza costs $30.75 for the pie.
Yeah.
See, I have it much easier. I'm going to the supermarket. I buy my favorite pizza from the freezer. Then I'm going home, put it in the oven, and I have a pizza for like €2. And it's good. It's okay.
I know an Italian that you know is probably screaming right now.
Yeah.
No.
Now, he would have screamed if I would have told him yesterday that I tried a vegan pizza, which was an experience in itself. It was okay.
I'm so sorry.
The cheese was real.
Well, before I'm actually going off to get myself a pizza, how about we get ready for today's adventure? But before we do that, let's make clear to everyone where we're actually at. We are not at Gino's Pizza, and we're not getting a pie for $30, but we are here at Horde of Tales, where we offer you a delicious dose of adventure every Tuesday when we run the Convergence Manifesto, which is our 5e campaign where we play in Eberron and follow the Convergence Manifesto adventures We are currently in Chapter 4, Living Legend, and if you like what you're seeing, you can go to acrosseberron.com and check out the adventures for yourself. We will play today's session in Astral VTT, and the music you hear is by Dark Fantasy Studios. Also, the overlay in our stream is made by Caro, and the character art that you see next to all our delightful characters is a cooperation between Caro and Serial. Last but not least, we also like cats here. We like them more than we like food, I would say. And we have a thing with Cat Vantage. If you spot a cat on one of our screens, you can use those channel points and give one of our players Cat Vantage. When you give them Cat Vantage, a little cute kitty cat will pop up on their screen, and they can cash in that Cat Vantage to get advantage on a roll. Keep in mind, a player can always only have one portion of Cat Vantage, so keep an eye on those kitty cats on the screen. That being said, and with Charlie already really getting ready for the adventure, how about I put us through our little intro and then we get right to it. See you in a few after the intro. And we are back, and we had a interesting little conversation behind the screen, which I'm not going to continue here because I think we're going to end up talking about it for the rest of the stream.
Watch the Jon Stewart pizza rant. You're done.
We're not going to rant about pizzas here as much as I think how fun that is. What we are going to do here today is return to our adventurers who were just about to enter the Inn of the Stagger Tribex at the end of the last session, but also saw that apparently an old acquaintance of them had arrived. Which complicated matters because our adventurers had just finished up their business in the Manifest Zone of Thelanis. They had succeeded in besting Mortal, not per se in combat, but with their combined efforts were able to pull the chains off of this ghostly figure, which apparently released the legendary hero. With the chains now in their possession, our adventurers met again this fey entity who seemed to be anything but happy about our adventurers not playing by the rules of the play, not fulfilling their role in here, but our cliff-jumping adventurers had none of it. They just wanted to go back home, get done with this. But the Fae really didn't like the arrogance. A fireball and a lightning bolt later, some of our companions had a brief stint of unconsciousness, were brought back, and the group made it out of Thelanis. However, already after the fight with Mortal, one companion, Rebus, already seemed to have forgotten why the group actually went there, and as the party left the Manifest Zone, Rain and Tantul, the guide of the party, also forgot about the events that transpired within the Manifest Zone. To make matters worse, Daithun seemed to consider keeping the Chains of Mortal, the item that the party was tasked to retrieve here, for himself. A tense discussion between the party happened. Rain actually got choked by the chains in some strange accident, but eventually Delphine was able to get Daithun to put the chains in the bag and keep them there, so they could not tempt anyone else for the moment. You made your way back to the city of Rhukaan Draal here in Dargoon, and as you approach the Staggered Tribex, you notice that outside of it, the magnificent, luxurious carriage of Aurea is parked. flanked by two of her Warforged that she has with her. To make things easier for Rebus and maybe make the situation less complicated, Rebus was turned invisible, and the party made their way towards the entrance. And that is where we're gonna pick up, with our party approaching the front door of the Staggered Tribex, which is currently flanked by the two Warforged that you also saw with Aurea the last time you saw her. Very standard-looking models of Warforged that turn their heads towards you as your party approaches, including Tantul and an invisible Rebus. What would you like to do?
Oh, hello. As chatty as ever, I say to the two Warforged guards.
Are these the ones that just don't they have like a solid plate?
Exactly. They don't have any kind of face. You only see that as you approach, these blank, solid plates turn towards you as they seem to they still seem to be aware of where you are. They just don't have any kind of eyes or anything similar to show where they're looking at this point. They just seem, as you approach, they don't make any moves to pull their weapons. They do have on their hips, they have swords in scabbards, and they just seem to turn their heads towards you as you come closer to the entrance, making no moves to stop you from entering.
Trying to think back to when we actually rode in the carriage that that we see parked outside. Did it move itself, or did the Warforged pull it, or?
No, the Warforged did not pull it, but the carriage moved itself.
Okay, so there wasn't a driver.
No.
Okay, then.
Just this very smooth, arcanely floating.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm gonna look around. Are there any really buff ponies pulling goblins by any chance?
You look around and you look over into the stables, which are also in front of the Staggered Tribex, and you don't see any kind of buff ponies at this point, and also no sign of goblins that might ride or tend to these buff ponies.
Oh well.
And if we'd like to, greet your patron, is that allowed?
The faceless plate turns towards you, and just one arm reaches behind it towards the door, and it gently pushes it open.
I strut.
Strut! Rain struts into the Staggered Tribex. Does the rest of the party strutting or not strutting follow?
I think Dyson is constantly strutting to some extent. But Dyson follows it.
All right.
We'll follow as well.
Right. Tantul does as well. What are y'all making any kind of effort to still try to see where Rebus is going? That's a lot harder at this point since they're made invisible.
If I stay within 10 feet of Rebus, I know where they are.
Blind fighting.
So I will try
do have a
to.
message.
I will try to keep somewhat close to Rebus to kind of be aware of where they are at any given point in time.
Gotcha. And with your experience in blind fighting, you can feel these slight tremors in the ground when Rebus steps, and you just basically flank them as you go in, maybe even making sure that the door stays a little bit longer open so that Rebus can go through as well. And before you know it, Your entire party, including your guide, are back inside the Staggered Tribex, the same tavern where you arrived when you came to Rhukaan Draal for the first time. Daithun, you haven't been here before since you arrived a little bit later than the rest of the party, and you see a very wide open room here with a bar on one side and not really any kind of chairs or tables. Most of the seating here is done on the floor around these little fire pits. There's a lot of furs and pillows, and scattered across the room, people are sitting in small groups around these fire pits, some with drinks and food next to them. You hear some laughter, someone is strumming on an instrument, but what catches all of your attention as you enter is on one end of the room, you see relaxing, lounging in some of the pillows and blankets, the snake-headed figure of Senka. And she is not alone. Not seated too far away from her is the familiar face of Aurea. Aurea Ocula Eberron. The woman that you had met before, after you trekked back with the House Oriens Express. Her slightly wild hair over her head, a friendly smile on her face as she seems to be in conversation with Senka, and sturdy but still expensive looking traveling garments on. It's the kind of traveling clothes that you get if you still want something robust, but you still want people to know that you had money to invest in it. Some little frills on it that would not be entirely necessary if you would make these kind of clothes. She is seated there with Senka, and they seem to be in conversation. And they haven't noticed you entering yet. What would you like to do?
Daithun would kind of get in close to the other two. Not Rain and Delphine.
That's Aurea over there, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder who she's speaking to.
Oh,
I mean,
that's
you can.
Tantal's ex.
It's like, what's Tantal doing? Did he come with
Tantal-
us here?
Yeah.
He entered with you lot. He got in there and he looks across the room, and it doesn't take any significant amount of insight that he is surprised by what he's seeing here. Maybe even looks a little bit flustered. But as you check out how he's doing, he's straightening his posture, wipes some more dust from off of his clothing, which, again, all of you have just come from trekking back into the city, straightens his hair a bit, and kind of still is gauging what the rest of you are going to do.
Is there an open seating area near Aurea and Senka?
About like 2 seating areas away from them, there's a place that would fit all of you.
Rain would point that out and like start walking in that direction. She's not being stealthy or like inconspicuous at all. She's just like walking because it's been a long journey. They're tired.
Yeah, Delphine will not follow, but will like to secure room for the night.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you head over to the bar, keeping with the speaking with the tavern keep.
Yep.
Daithun's gonna actually head over to the table with Aurea and Senka.
Gotcha. All right. So we have everyone splitting up a little bit, and Daithun, as you move closer to the table with Senka and Aurea, you would notice that At one point, you would notice that you're not aware of Rebus in your vicinity at this point. Would you still continue moving onwards?
I would, because if Rebus doesn't move away from the door, it would be weird for Dythune to not move.
Mm-hmm.
His current plan is he's going to sit down with the group, and then if he doesn't feel Rebus nearby, after a short while, he would try and find Rebus.
Gotcha. All right. So we basically have the party split up a little bit around the room. Rain, let's start with you. You move over to one of those areas where you can just easily sit down on the ground. The pillows are soft, the furs are warm, and the fire is nice as well. You have basically your seating area. Then there's one next to you with a few people, and next to that is the seating area with Senka and Aurea. So there's one group of people in between you and them. And as you strut over there, you, at least as far as you can tell, actually, give me a perception check for that before I rob you of information that you might have acquired on the way there.
5.
5.
Drop me.
You walk over to your place. As far as you can tell, they haven't seen you yet.
I make minor illusion of the sound of mice squeaking at a point away from me. Squeak,
At a
squeak,
point-
squeak, 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 squeak.
At a point away from you, you hear the squeaking of the mice.
At a point at which I think towards Senka and Aurea, and I make this show of and I watch for Senka's head.
And as you are, you cast the spell and you make this show, caught up a bit in your own little bit of stage work that you show here. And before you know it, Senka is already standing next to you. And she looks at you. Are you the only one of your group that made it back?
Is that what you want to hear? I mean, would you speak at their eulogies?
Are you the only one that made it back?
There will be no eulogy giving this time. Does that answer your question?
She just as you say that, she turns around, looks around, and she sees that Dythune has moved over to where she was seated, which gives us we see the camera flit around the room a bit over to Dythune, who you see that as you approach, you saw Senka get up. You heard some mice squeaking. They might want to do something about that here. And you saw that Senka, or you don't know what her name exactly is. You haven't met her. This
Snake.
But you have seen her kind of people before. Medusas are not very far spread on the continent, but especially within Droam, there are a few groups of Medusas that do work both in the military forces, but also as artisans, as craftsmen. Their capability of turning things into stone turns out to be very useful when you try to build things. And but you haven't seen a Medusa in quite a while, and you see this Medusa wandering away and walk over to Rain, and can already hear from one side Rain doing her Rain thing. And you now approach Aurea, who is sitting alone there, and sees you walk up, and you see this woman look up. Ah, Dythune, you are about 25% of the people I was hoping to meet here.
Lady Aurea Ocula, Corin, it's a pleasure. I'm a bit surprised to see you out this way. Seems we keep crossing paths.
We sure do. And I can understand that you are slightly surprised about this. But I do have business in these parts of town, and, well, not part of town, but parts of the world. And I also wanted to combine this business with a little business from a friend of mine who keeps me up to date about a little project he's working on.
Oh.
Well, that was indeed quite one of my responses when I heard what he's working on. But there's no use in conversation in such a comfortable inn if it's not done while sitting down and sharing a drink.
Well, I believe the other, 50% of the rest of us that you were hoping to see are located over there. It seems you already have a guest at your table, so I wouldn't want to intrude, but perhaps maybe once they've left and everyone's settled in a bit. It's been a long journey.
Well, bring them all over here. Tell buyers around. And don't worry about Senka. I've recently been introduced to her and her companions. Just getting to know her a little bit. Have to say, I've never worked with a Medusa before, but she's making quite an impression on me.
Well, they're quite... My experiences with them are limited, but very, very skilled, traditionally. I would be interested to have this conversation with you. I will extend the invitation.
Perfect. And just to paint you a bit of a picture here, you are reminded that Aurea herself is a gnome, so she's small in stature, and you even though she is significantly smaller than you, and especially because she's seated, she's still, as she looks at you, she really has quite a presence in the room.
Yes, absolutely.
She pulls her weight no matter how small her frame is.
Dython will give a polite bow and walk over to wherever Rain has picked for the rest of the party.
Right. And at that point, Delphine, you would have had no problem acquiring a room here at the tavern. There's still room available, actually. As far as you can guess, the room that you and your companions had when you slept here the first night would be available to you again at this point. If you were interested to get that room, you could get that as well.
Yeah, sure. Taking that and then ordering some drinks.
Perfect. And the drinks get to you at the point where you look over and you see that Dyphon has moved to the place where Aurea is seated. And you also spotted Senka moving over to where Rain got. And the two are currently in conversation. The drinks are right next to you now.
Okay,
where are
I'm
you heading?
It seems like I trust Dyphon in this decision to sit beside Aurea, and I let Rain and Senka have their little flirt and taking the drinks over to the other table.
Right. As you take them over to the other table, you just see that Dyphon is like curtsies quickly and then turns around as he's also moving over to the other table. The two of you are now like basically in front of each other.
I'm handing him his drink, like, take it.
Thank you. Seems we have a invitation to join Aurea.
Figured.
I'll let everyone know. And
You know where Rebus went?
I can find them.
Okay.
I'm
Good to know.
sure. I'm sure they're not far. Probably keeping an eye on this one specifically.
Okay. Then moving over to Aurea.
Right. Aurea sees you approach as Dythun wanders off. And Aurea looks, well, another 25%. Good to see you. Where'd you go,
Pleasure.
Fiend? I see you're still doing well. Though, pardon me to say, both you and Dythun, you are directly off of the road, right? There's still quite some dust and dirt on you.
Oh yeah, the occasional trips to the wilderness.
The wilderness here of Dargoon, I imagine, is fascinating and dangerous to travel through. I hope this land did not give you too much troubles.
No, it was actually kind of boring.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
No, don't be.
I just extended an invitation to your companion Dythun to come sit with me here. I have to admit, it's not entirely just because out of the kindness of my heart. I am here also on request of an acquaintance of mine.
Well, I didn't expect that someone from your stand will just invite some strangers that are dirty and full of dust.
Well, I would not consider you strangers, considering the time we've spent traveling together. I think we had some interesting conversations in those times.
Well, indeed.
But you are right in the assumption that people of my station often demand something. I'll await you here at my table.
Well, I already
Oh.
have the drinks for my companions, and I would like to leave them here before I go into our room to get a little bit of the dust.
She gestures to the place around the fireplace. There's like a wooden steel thing around the fireplace where you can put down drinks and food. She gestures towards it. Feel free to put them here. I won't drink from your drink.
Oh, it's not poisoned.
By the way, is that hobgoblin part of your entourage?
Well, he was our guide,
Oh,
showing us some local scenes that were interesting to him.
you can tell him he doesn't have to linger over at the bar, and he doesn't have to look so nervous. Not sure what you did to him.
A lot.
Well, then I will tell him. Then giving a slight nod and then moving over to Tantul. Give him a good slap on the back.
Tantula is like snaps out of a thought he was having as you slap him. He's like, oh, is that an acquaintance of yours?
Oh, kinda. You know, meeting people here and there. But if you want to stay the rest of the night at the bar, this is up to you. But you're also invited to sit over there. If you don't mind, probably sitting. It seems like Senka is with her as well.
Apparently. No. I was hoping to not see Senka again, as you know. But I
Well,
guess
then
we're
you should leave this place, because pointing over to Senka.
I mean, I did fulfill my obligation towards you and your companions. I brought you to the Manifesto, ventured through it, forgot all my memories of it, and got back here.
You have your writings.
No, he doesn't.
The few papers yet.
I guess there is not much else for me to do here then.
Oh, wait a second. Then I pull out the notebook and flies in front of him. I don't need it, I can't read it anyway.
You had this all this time? Thank you. Thank you for keeping it safe. But it would have been nice if you maybe, already on the way back given me, so I could have put some of my notes in here. No matter, no problem. Say, I think I'll go somewhere where I can quietly flip through this. And I thank you very much for the journey, no matter how fascinating it was. And please, should you meet Guild Handler Lara, send her my regards.
I do.
And you seem like look one last time over in the direction of Senka. And then he quietly moves away from the bar and towards the exit.
At this, I think more than 4 minutes has passed, so I no longer have a telepathic link with Rebus.
Yeah.
If I, because I'm keeping an eye on like where my companions are while engaged with Senka. If I see Tantul leaving, I will project telepathically. No goodbye. Tantul has never had me do this purposely yet.
He has his hands on the doorknob of the door as you do that, and you see him stop in his motion, look around, look into your direction, and
Honor, destiny, courage.
and at the moment he looks over to your direction, Senka is also looking in his direction. And he is now locking eyes with her.
You can come and say goodbye. No one's forcing you. I mean, she's already bid us. Biting us again, that's rather unoriginal of her.
He faces towards the door, still has like a few fingers on the doorknob. But then you can just see his face contort, going like... Pulls his fingers away, straightens his clothing one more time, and walks over to your direction.
Good. Power walk. Square your shoulders. Yes. Chin up. Excellent. And then I resume with Senka. And Delphine thought I just spent too much water. But water is the source of life. Why wouldn't you envelop yourself in life?
Yes, I also enjoy a good bath. Tantul.
Hello.
What a coincidence. You also made it back. Well, I was hoping you would make it back.
Oh.
I have some more conversations to do with Lady Aurea. Potential business. And she walks past Tantul and like gently moves her fingers over his shoulder and leans a little bit in and says, might have another job for you as well. And then moves past him towards back to Aurea.
I mean, so long as you maintain your business, you conduct your business in, a fair fashion, and the terms are what you mean them to say. It would be a shame for Aurea to hear that you would renege on previously agreed business transactions. I think it's better to have a fresh, brand new start. Wouldn't you say?
You say that to Tantul?
I say that to Senka.
To Senka?
Out loud.
She looks over her shoulder as she hears you say that. She was already on her way back to Aurea. Looks over her shoulder, turns around back to you. All her snakes on her head also looking towards you. So now you're also in the business of advice, not just adventuring.
That was actually one of our first contracted jobs. Business interventions of so. I guess we are running quite a gamut of skills. You're welcome. This one's a freebie on the house.
She rolls her eyes, her snakes roll their eyes, and she wanders away. Tantu looks at you as well as Senka walks off, and he just gives you this glare for a moment before he also follows Senka.
So much for holding down a free spot if no one's gonna come sit. I stretch out some more.
So just for tracking where everyone is, Rain is still in her own spot. Dyphon is currently looking if he can find where Rebus is at this point, and Delphine has put down the drinks at the table.
Invited Tantu to sit over and then went to the room to
Freshen up.
Yeah.
I was waiting for people to come to the table. I thought we would secure. I'm just like, where is everyone? What the hell?
And there Rain got left alone.
Dythun, if you're looking for Rebus, can you give me, since you don't really have an exact location for them right now,
And they're
can you give me
invisible.
either a perception or investigation check?
Okay, do I have disadvantage or anything?
Actually, yes, because Rebus is invisible.
Okay, if I have advantage, does it make it a straight roll?
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Perception, yep.
That's unfortunate. It's an 8.
That's an 8.
I'm usually good at that. That's like, other than athletics, one of my best ones.
Delphine, how long would you say does it take you to freshen up in the room?
Not longer than probably 5 to 10 minutes.
All right. So, Delphine, you walk up to the room to put on, to like at least clean off a little bit, maybe put on some other clothing. And as you went up, you saw Dythun walking around the tavern, standing in some places, standing there like he's really focused on something. And you went up to the room, and it took you like, let's say, about like 8 or 9 minutes to get ready. You come back down, and you still see Dythun like walking around the tavern looking for something.
Looking to Dyphon, seeing that Rain is still sitting at the original table. And then like, yep, Dyphon is looking for something, so going over to Rain.
Finally.
Seems like Dyphon didn't told you.
No. I've been just enjoying all these pillows by myself.
Well, we were invited to sit with Aurea.
Oh, how nice.
So seems like there's something she wants from us.
Interesting. I wonder if it also has something to do with Senka, since apparently they are working together. But I'm sure you knew that already.
Well, Senka is sitting over there as well.
Yeah.
And... oh, Tantul didn't leave. Well, then...
Well, just to be clear, we are still maintaining that our invisible companion is not with us. It would be nice to locate them so I can let them know how much longer the spell has.
And as Rain says that, Dythun, you're a few paces away from them, still looking around. And at one point, while you're moving past what's probably like some kind of wardrobe where people can leave their coats and jackets, you feel around you a bit of a tremor in the ground. But you don't see anyone else around you that might be causing that.
It's not in the wardrobe, is it?
Oh no, not in there. No.
Just like climb inside.
No.
Okay.
It's close, but not inside of it.
Okay. I'll just kind of walk by and kind of under my breath. The rest of us will be sitting with Aurea. It'd be well to stay close by, I think, and just walk away. And then join where Rain and Delphine are.
All right. Typhoon comes over, and you just walk in as Rain is wrapping up her sentence about it would be good to locate the invisible friend, and you're with your companions.
On them?
Yeah, they should be nearby. I found them and told them we would be probably sitting over there.
GM, is my spell like a quarter, halfway through? Because we've been here a while now.
It
That's
lasts
an
for about
hour.
an hour, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's at this point, it's like at 20 minutes.
All right. Well, if you talk to them again, Dyson, wherever they are, there's a little over half an hour left of, the veil.
Right.
You're quite familiar with this spell, aren't you, Dyson? We had some good times with it.
We did. It's interesting. He just kind of like looks down, like remembering not being able to see his own hand for a short period of time, and just shall we join Aurea and what was it, Senka? I believe.
Very good. Just think snake. Don't let that confuse you too much, thinking about the snakes, because there are snakes on her head, and because her physiology resembles a snake, and that the letters in her name also can be respelled to snake. But her name is Senka, so don't confuse
Rain
yourself about snake.
rambling, I'm already turned and going over to the table of Aurea.
You, Delphine, thank you very much for already moving over. And you make your way over there as Rain explains the name Senka. You see that at this point, Aurea sits in the middle, as far as like a circular setup would have a middle, which I guess it does, but she sits like in the middle between Senka on one side and Tantul on the other. And Aurea seems to be currently, like, as you approach, you hear her talk about some kind of rare book that her family acquired, and Tantul is completely fascinated by the story. He's listening to it and is like leaning a little bit on his side, keeping his look on Aurea, while Senka is just leaning back in the pillows, has a drink in her hand, and is just idly like stirring through the drink as first Delphine and then the rest of the group comes over. And Aurea stops in her story and says, "Oh, great. You have come here, at least 3/4 of your group. I was told that you were still accompanied by the Warforged."
Yes.
Yeah, it seems like they had something to do.
Yeah.
Oh, but they did accompany you on your mission from the Clifftop Adventurers Guild?
Yes.
But they currently have other affairs.
I mean, we're not always in lockstep. We were missing Daito for quite some chunk of our journey as well. We have other obligations. We can pass along your regards.
please do so.
Hmm.
And please, take a seat. I've ordered some fresh bites and some more drinks. And I am currently very glad to make all these new acquaintances here in Rhukaan Draal. First, I meet Senka, who has offered her services and those of her companions for a little excavation that I would be interested in. And
Oh.
Tantul here tells me that he is quite the historian.
Oh, it's good to see you again, Senka.
Aurea says, "Oh, you've met her before."
Yes, indeed, isn't that right, Senka?
We did indeed meet.
One businesswoman to businesswoman, of course.
Yes, there was some transaction that they were involved in, and I met them through my acquaintance Tantul here. And Aurea looks up at Tantul. "Oh, you have done business with Senka before." And Tantul says, "We have been working together for a while, but then our projects took us in different ways." And he says it with like this really polite smile, like, and Aurea just nods. "All right then." So many interconnected dots here. Fascinating. I am curious. I have heard of your mission here in Dargun. You were sent to retrieve an item, my acquaintance has told me.
Ah,
Well, we are always sent somewhere to get something.
Oh, you certainly are. I mean, I've been hearing very positively from Lady Tresca about how you delivered this idol of fire that she has forged. And I've heard Guild Handler Lara, in a little conversation we had, talk very positively about your achievements on, what was it again? Ice White Isle?
I did not know we had such a fan who is quite involved and knowledgeable in our recent tasks. I'm curious.
Well, all cards on the table. It's not just a fan. This acquaintance of mine is the one who is sponsoring these missions.
Oh, interesting.
A generous benefactor. What was their name again? On the tip of my tongue.
Nigel Farias.
That's what it was.
I have to say, Nigel is a bit of a... He can be a bit of an eccentric individual.
Yes, quite a temper on them too, occasionally.
Have you met them?
I know them only by reputation.
Oh, I didn't know that Nigel had such a wide-known reputation. He's kind of an hermit. Typhon.
As she says, Nigel filibuster or whatever. Can I insight check to like see if she's fishing, or like is that actually the name of the person?
Give me an insight check.
Rain is fishing for sure.
Well, I know, but I'm trying to see like is she fishing you back? Like, oh yeah, this person, totally who I'm talking about. 17.
The name is not the kind of name you've heard before. Maybe that's what gives you the idea that it might be a made-up name. But Aurea seems convinced in what she's saying.
Okay.
And just to remind the table and anyone watching, like session like 2 or 3, Rain did a mental dive into our guild handler to find out who was doing this, and she got these unclear, vague mental images of an older man, like I think snapping or yelling at Laura. I think yelling or snapping at something else, kind of an angry, gruff voice. And that's the
Right.
only impression she's had of this person. Laura didn't give information. So that's what Rain is also kind of fishing back with, like trying to lend some credibility to what she's saying.
Nigel is working on this project for a while now. It's both a literary and a material project. You see, Nigel and I, we go way back. We've studied together, and we're both, I would call us experts on the matter of planar activities and their interactions with our material plane. Though I do not have the field experience that the lot of you have acquired at this point. But he is working on something like his magnum opus, his masterpiece, to document an accurate image of the interactions between planes, of the interactions between the moons that circle around our world. And I think he does want to have some of these objects for documentation and study purposes. And so, while he is somewhere in his study writing chapter 45 of his manifesto, I had a little conversation with him, and he told me about that he sent out this group of adventurers again, looking for something in Dargoon, and I told him I was on my way here to Rhukaan Draal, and I told him if I met them, if I would come across them, I would have a little chat. Just a friendly service between friends. So, I would just bluntly ask, how did it go? Have you succeeded on your task?
You are most cordial in fulfilling the requests of your dear friend Nigel. But as professionals, we have to answer directly to the guild and directly to the benefactor. Despite us knowing you, very generously so. I am concerned that you might think us less professionals if we were to simply share those details with someone who is not a direct party. Wouldn't that erode your trust in us? If we were so easily to, spill the beans.
Fair point, Rain. It's almost rude of me to just ask this now, isn't it?
I think it's quite intelligent of our benefactor, of Nigel, to send you to test us, and I am honored that we have passed.
Oh, if I can tell you one thing about Nigel, he does not have the social aptitude to think of these kind of tests. He's an academic through and through. May I then inquire something else? What has been on these voyages that you've taken? What has been your experience of these places where the objects that you found were hidden?
I gesture to Delphine and Dyson.
Let's say some of them, or actually all of them, are quite a risk.
Well,
That's all I can tell.
I mean, if anything, it's been more the denizens of these places that are the risk. Less so than the places themselves.
Interesting. I have a rather different perspective to that, Dyson. I think that the denizens of this plane and their interaction with the manifest zones has been the biggest complication.
Oh, I agree. Most of the problem is with people. You know,
And the inhabitants of the plains.
No.
it's more on our journeys. The planes themselves have not been the ones trying to kill us. Is that fair?
Well, if you look back at Icewhite Isle, I will beg to differ.
Well, okay, there was the giant worm, but again,
And
denizens
the
of
freezing
plains
cold and
in a jacket.
the difference of time. But
Okay, that was
if you think like, yeah, this place wouldn't kill you at all, and that's fair, but then you will need to get your mind checked, you know?
But I think the risk was only multiplied because of interference by our plane onto that manifest zone.
Yeah, I think if we were denizens of that place, we wouldn't have a problem.
But then you will be like
a
a giant worm.
Well, if I was a giant worm, the other giant worms probably wouldn't try and kill. Do you think they fight each other? Never thought
What an
about that.
interesting conversation about the interaction of the planes with our world. Asking if it is these manifest zones that are the danger, or the beings exposed to it. As if that friction between the two is a source of strife. Fascinating.
Basically, we've gotten to look at many beautiful ponds, but also got to see the after effects of many other people touching and making ripples in those ponds.
Ponds.
Literally and figuratively, actually.
There were
There's
at
been a
least
lot of
three
water.
ponds. Oh, thank goodness.
And you have interacted with quite the variety of planes at this point. As far as I've heard, and I don't think that all my sources are so accurate, and as much as you are building a reputation, it's not like your stories are that far spread yet. I've heard you have interacted with the cold, you interacted with the heat, you had dealt with energies of life itself. And now, even the playfulness, wickedness, and chaos of Thelanus.
Yeah, okay,
Supposedly.
that one's no good.
That one was weird.
No, not my cup of tea. I prefer chamomile. It's really didn't like that one.
Which does lead me to another question. This does sound like a very dangerous lifestyle that you're having. And I think my friend Nigel is happy that there are people like you who can be hired for such tasks, but I am personally curious. What drives one to live this life? Have you know people in your lives who are worried about how you live?
Oh, what a question to ask such a group. Well, not all of us have the luxury of, having the confidence and the stature to travel comfortably to I won't say dangerous, but slightly remote and less orderly places, without the benefit of two very fine pieces of engineering.
Let's just say that, for me personally, these pieces of engineering are a product of knowing what happens if I don't travel with them.
Oh,
You haven't answered my question yet.
you've answered many of your questions. I'm thirsty.
What was your question again?
She
Why we
looks
do
over.
this.
She looks over at Typhoon.
Sorry,
and
I've already drank 2 of these. I don't.
There's a bit of a playful smirk looking at you as you enjoy the drinks, and she says, "What makes you live this kind of life, Typhoon? What makes any of you voluntarily, at least I think it is voluntarily, pick this kind of life?"
Well, I can't answer for the others, but a little bit of everything, honestly. A sense of independence from what's expected of me, a little bit of, it pays very well and I'm well suited for the work. But I guess more just not wanting to follow a path laid out in front of me. Not to do what's expected.
Miss Lady Delphine, I wonder, what is it that makes you go on these adventures?
Well, to be fair, I never did what was expected from me, so doing like mercenary jobs for half of my life, so what else shall I do? Like sitting at home, having a quiet life with nothing to do.
That does sound horribly boring.
Might be.
But also comfortable to have a home to live such a life.
If you have one.
And you, Rain?
Maybe I have a bit more in common with our patron Nigel Various than I thought. I too am also very interested in the collection and utilization of magic from different planes. That happens to be a bit of my practical specialty.
Practical specialty? Any specific planar interactions that you would consider your specialty?
Oh. Might be a bit uncouth, a little bit dangerous to, put on a bit of a demonstration. But I do let myself actively be touched by several planes. And in return, the amalgamation of all those presences creates a sort of font of arcane ability in me. I think at least 3 that I've last kept count of. Who knows if anyone else decided to sneak into my head? I'd love to meet this Nigel. Maybe we can trade notes.
I was about to say the same. I should tell him that he might want to not just acquire objects, but also individuals like you. Not acquire in the transactional sense. That is not his trade. He gets to know people who have these interactions with the planes.
So what would that mean if we were to hypothetically, and I look at Delphine and Dyson, continue on such very dangerous journeys? I almost didn't make it out alive this one. Through no fault of my own, even. Kind of like cockily smile at my two companions.
I assume that, from what I know of Nigel's project, there are still quite some objects that he's looking to acquire, some that he still has to locate. It took him quite some time to locate these objects and then send people who were willing to acquire them out there. And I would assume that none of these places are any less dangerous than what you've encountered so far.
I mean, if they weren't dangerous, why would they be sending us?
I mean, they did try
Exactly.
to send the Death Gate Guild.
I
Yeah.
heard of that
Hmm.
little incident. I have to say, I did talk with Nigel about his choice in trying also to hire other adventuring guilds. His idea was that he could have multiple groups look for multiple objects at the same time. I think the idea is admirable, but I had not heard many good things about the Deathgate Adventurers Guild. And then he goes and sends them out on this task. And it took the lot of you to get most of them back. I have been hearing some talk in Sharn that since that incident, the rates of the Deathgate Adventurers Guild have been dropping.
Not that anyone will be happy about it.
But Dyson and Delphine, she's sort of building us up as if we are the only individuals who can ever carry out these expeditions, even within Cloudtop.
Oh, don't get me wrong.
Mm.
You are doing a great job so far. I'm glad. I mean, Nigel is glad with the job that you are doing.
Oh, there's a but coming.
But don't think of yourselves as the only individuals that we could call upon.
I might sound a little bit rude because I most of the times am, but there was never the thought on our side that we are the only ones who should be sent out or could be able to bring any of these back. But it seems like as if we're at the moment, I would say, one of the more successful ones.
At the moment, you truly are. And you should be proud of those achievements.
So, when Nigel puts them all together, can we be there to watch? You'll be there, won't you?
I will be there, of course. Nigel would not dare not inviting me. But I am not sure. You know, I think I should talk to him and make sure that you are there. Consider all the work that you've put in. Whatever he is working on, the end results, you should have front row seats to see it. Maybe he has already considered it. And if he hasn't, once I get back to him, I shall make it very clear to him that he should invite you.
I wonder if anyone else is invited. I mean, you are quite an illustrious person. Let me think of other illustrious people that we happen to meet that maybe would be invited. We met that person from House Orion. What about from House Cannith? What was his name again? And as I'm fishing for, before saying Lord Merrick's, is there any a reaction in her face as I start saying, "How's Cannith?"
Give me an insight check, please.
Trying to give something
Moraine
to
is
Rebus
fishing
here.
a lot today.
Oh no! Oh no!
I mean, she likes the water.
Insight. 8. Bad dice, bad.
As you're just looking like you're pretending as if you're working for the name, you look at Aurea, and she just gives you this face with her eyebrows raised, but just keeps eyes locked with you.
Bradshaw the
Here,
gentleman.
that Merrick guy.
Redhead.
Merrick's the Cannith.
Yes, that was it.
You met Merrick's the Cannith.
Should we not have? Do you know something about Merrick's the
I
Cannith?
absolutely believe more people should meet Merrick's the Cannith, so that more people might learn the person he is, instead of the persona that is woven about him.
Oh, what kind of persona is woven about him at all?
Successful people seem to sometimes warp the stories that are told about them. To which Tantul says, like legends of people, not all stories are true. Aurea continues, correct. Merrick's and his ancestors were essential in the success of House Cannith in the past century. Essential, if not even key, in the creation of the Warforged. Such success is, of course, unrivaled by many other houses. And it's such success that sometimes convinces people too much of themselves. I think Merrick's the Cannith is a little bit too convinced of himself.
That was not at all the impression we got from him. I mean, he was very kind to our Warforged companion, who is currently not here, and offered to perhaps consider finding information about their maker.
Dythun.
I think what Rain just said answers my question, but I'm looking through my notes and I think it's before I was in this notebook. This is the person we met like the first time we went back to the guild, right? They sat in the conversation with us. They were like really interested in Rebus.
Yeah, that was the guy who was basically handling the whole transaction with Tresca.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I wanted to make sure.
Red hair, very annoying smile.
Yeah, but we also know because of glimpses into Rebus's memories that Merrick's and Aurea are absolutely vested in Rebus, but they don't know that we know that they know. We know they don't.
I remembered that Merrick's was in the connection, but I wanted to make sure that was also the same person from the beginning. Okay.
Because Merrick's hid this whole... Merrick's hid the fact that he knew Rebus.
Yes.
It's interesting to hear that, well, not just interesting, but also very typical of Merrick's, that he would show interest in you, in the Warforged, in your party. Who knows, maybe they should pick Merrick's up on that offer. It has been quite a while since I had any interactions with this figurehead of House Cannith. Maybe he has changed for the better in the years.
Dythun like raises his hand. He's like, "Can I another round?" Yes, great. All of this political back and forth, it's all very amusing and entertaining, and I'm definitely following all of it. But was I wrong to assume it seemed you had some business to discuss? Something more personal rather than asking us of our adventures?
Oh, yeah, I had
Oh.
the same impression.
Oh, you are absolutely not wrong in that. I already had the joy to discuss some of my potential business here with Senka. Maybe see if we can involve Tantul in that as well. And I do have some more appointments in the morning. So I was just, please, forgive a woman of my age to indulge in a little bit of banter with you exciting adventurers. I don't want to bore you in any sense, but I do want to leave you with one final offer. Assuming that whatever you've been doing has been completed here, if you want to, I can yet again offer you a ride in my carriage. I am heading back westward in the morning, and I could take you as far as Sterngate. You might have to look for other transportation from there, but it already should probably help you get out of Dargoon.
That's a very generous offer, but what is the repayment for this?
Your company would be the payment for it. I would have chances of conversation and just a good company with the lot of you. And also, Nigel would be very glad to hear that I made sure that his favorite adventuring party is traveling as safe as possible.
Can I read in her face if there's anything hidden? Like, because I can't believe that it's basically just, yeah, I'm gonna take you there because I like your presence around me.
Yeah. To repeat, also myself for the, I think, 4th time in this game. Can I insight check Aurea?
Yeah.
Also,
I
Both
was
of you
hoping
can
you to
roll me.
ask it, yeah, because I'm like, let someone else roll.
Both of you can roll me an insight check, please.
it's like I obviously don't believe her, but
I
like,
didn't either, but I'm like, let these two roll for a bit. The dice have been betraying me.
Nope.
Roll just in case.
7.
Thank goodness it didn't.
18.
And less things, please.
Delphine, you see, if you don't trust her or if you think there's something hidden in there, that's your prerogative to believe that. Considering the circumstances, absolutely understandable. But try as you might, it's just this personal feeling you have that there's something wrong. You don't see like any kind of indication in the body language or something. Daithun, how many drinks would you say would you have had at this point?
I mean, probably like at least 2. I think he's probably ordering his 3rd one.
Right.
But I mean, as somebody who regularly makes alcohol and the type of person that he is, I think he's still fairly in control of himself by this point.
Right. But maybe
I
just
personally think he like handles his alcohol pretty well. He knows
Perfect.
when to
That's
stop.
fair. That's completely fair. But with these 2 drinks in, like you start just, you might be a little bit more relaxed at this point already in the conversation, be a little bit more aware of the general vibe that is hanging around the table. And within 18, there is, what strikes you as odd is that Aurea comes here selling she's here for business, then she gets you all around the table, and she asks you these fairly personal questions to get more like feeling all of you out a little bit, like checking like what all of you are about and how you've experienced this. Interesting questions maybe, but still strange kind of setting to do these kind of things, especially for someone that has only met you for the 2nd time. And now with the also convenient offer of going back via her carriage, there is something hidden under the grass, and you have a bad feeling about this.
Yeah.
Dython will hear in his mind. Let me just double check something. Yeah. I see that you don't buy it either.
Mm-mm.
Well, I could delve a little deeper, but that would come at the cost of revealing our friend.
I don't think we need to know the reasonings as long as we know the intention, if that makes any sense.
I mean, everyone has multiple intentions. Everyone.
It's more, if you see a snake in the grass, you know it's going to bite you. You don't need to ask why. If you want to, that's you, but I just... Something about this just feels wrong. She seems very intent on, keeps circling back to Rebus, which is a little concerning, knowing what we know now.
I mean, that wheel was rather awful. There was a squeaking wheel. I felt rather homicidal.
Nathan, like, can't tell if Rain is, like, speaking in some kind of weird message or if there is just really a annoying wheel somewhere. And he's just like, I thought the cart didn't have wheels.
No, we didn't travel in such a nice carriage last time.
Is everything
too.
all right? Aurea asks.
Oh. Copper for the thoughts. Copper for the thoughts.
I am boring you, aren't I? You must be exhausted from the travels. But you had a few drinks?
You know, bored is not the right term, but
Exhausted.
banter is not necessarily something I am entirely interested in. So I do, if you don't mind, do have a question with a purpose behind it.
My
Personal-
favorite questions.
Personal curiosity of mine. Looking around, your warforged, you said in a roundabout way, they're there for protection, correct?
They are.
How are they going to protect you if they're outside?
They have their means.
Is it like an automatic thing, or like do you have to like tell them?
There are some manuals to them, and they are trained. They do what they do as best as they can.
I'm not trying to threaten you. I'm just simply very curious on how they work. Like, when I say this next sentence, please. No, I don't mean it, but like, if I were to pull a knife on you right now, would they come rushing in? Is that how that works?
Probably they would.
Fascinating.
Would you like to try?
Oh no, you got too curious.
No.
The hour is growing late. And I think I've used enough of your time at this point. You can sleep on my offer. I'm assuming you're going to stay here.
Oh, it's all. I already paid for everything, so
Oh, why,
don't
thank
worry
you,
about
Delphine.
that.
Very well. I shall
However,
check in with you in the morning.
However, I can already tell you, as much as I like your offer with the card, I personally don't need it, as I will go more into the southeast direction.
You do not intend to travel back to Sharn.
Oh, I do, but you know, this traveling via land is quite annoying and very slow. On top of it, so I will
see.
prefer the shorter travels to the next port and try to get a ship from there.
I think you should indeed discuss that with your companions then. And I leave you to think about that. Thank you once again much for your time. Miss Senka, would you accompany me to my carriage so we can talk a bit more business? And Mr. Tantul, if you are interested in joining this endeavor, you can join me as well. Tantul nods and says, I'm curious to hear a bit more. My friends, I wish you a good evening. And maybe we see each other in the morning. But should we not? It was an honor to... Well, at least it was an experience to...
Was it though?
Even of that, I'm not sure. Whatever it was, thank you.
Thank you as
And-
well, Tantu.
He gets up and follows Aurea and Senka out of the
As
tavern.
they walk, Dython will stand up. And, Lady Aurea, Curran, it was obviously pleasure as always to see you again. Nice to make your acquaintance, Miss Snakes, and Tin Man. I'll see you later.
And as you mispronounce both the names, you see Senka's face contorting, and then Tantu raises her hand and says, he does this. And then the two of them wander off as well. As all of you are left behind there, around a table with a few drinks and empty trays. And we are first going to take a little break before we see what happens and how the party is going to go back, if they're going to take up on the offer, if they're going to get a boat, or whatever else is going to happen. Everything can happen here on this stream. But first, we're going to take a little break. We'll be back in about 10 minutes to continue today's session. So hang in there, get some drinks, stretch your legs, call your friends, and we'll be back in 10 minutes.
Bye.
See you soon.
Yippee.
And here we are again, second half of this adventure, where we are going to see what our adventurers are going to do as they, well, just had a quick chat with an old acquaintance of them. But before we get back into that second half, first of all, thanks to everyone who tunes in and joins us in chat for these little games. It is really nice to have every one of you here, and we enjoy playing with you. If you like what you see here, you can, of course, give us a follow here on Twitch, or even give us a subscribe. That would also be nice if you want to. If you also want to keep track of whatever we also do on Horde of Tales, because we don't just play this campaign here, we do other stuffs here as well. So if you want to follow us, you can do so on our Twitter or join our Discord. And there you will always find what we're doing. And indeed, that's down below the stream here. Also, if you just join us for episode 31 of our campaign and you wonder what we've done in the first 30 episodes, you find the VODs of all our sessions on our YouTube account at youtube.com/Horde of Tales. Not just the VODs of this campaign, but the VODs of everything we run here, which is also some great one-shots and other fun things that we get up to. So check us out on YouTube. And while you're there, why not give us a subscription on YouTube as well? Just, clickety-click that button. And leave comments, upvote our videos. All those little things help. But what also just helps is you being here We're very grateful for that, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
But we still have a session to continue because our adventurers have just met Aurea Ocula Eberron, the gnomish wealthy figure that they met on earlier adventures. She has just left the building with Tantul and Senka, who she's considering to offer a job, and left the party with this choice if they maybe want to hitch a ride in her luxurious carriage. Adventurers, the evening has moved on a little bit, and Delphine did secure rooms for you. Well, rooms. A large communal room with enough beds for everyone, and an adjoined bathroom. There's a nice big fireplace in the middle, and at this point, the party is in this room.
I'm curious, when invisibility faded, where did we find Rebus like standing near us? Were they in a corner, like they looking? In what position did Rebus become visible?
You
again?
found Rebus not too far from the exit of the staggered Tribex, seated on the ground, and once they realized that their invisibility had worn off, they slowly got up and rejoined the rest of the party. And at this point, all of you are up in your large shared room. Rebus is also sitting on one of the beds, and they say, "Thank you for covering me here. Was there anything of value that you discussed with Aurea? Any important information that I should know about?"
Well, the facade continues, unfortunately.
I was afraid of that. You did not go into her mind, did you?
Doing so would have revealed you.
Oh. Thank you then, once again. Though, it might have maybe been beneficial, but maybe not. I don't know. What was she doing here?
Oh, that's a question that we probably all have.
It's one she answered but didn't. In a
She
way.
didn't really answer it.
She gave her answer, but I doubt she gave her actual reasoning.
I mean, clearly, she expected us to believe that royalty like her was following up the requests of someone not royalty. Just to check in.
I'm not the only one who is concerned about that. Am I?
She definitely dug way too deep into our personal matters. You hear these questions that they all gave us about our reasons to say.
Well, no one exactly gave their sob story of their sordid past.
Oh yeah, because we should definitely do this. Tell everyone what kind of horrible past we had.
That's the point. We surrendered nothing of substance.
We should get back to the Adventurers Guild as quick as possible, I think.
Quick
Is-
would entail that nice ride.
Like I said, it's actually not that far from probably the next port. There's a rather more or less large river flowing down here. And if my memory serves me right, there must be something maybe 1 or 2 days from here. Maybe make it 3 if my mind is not that correct.
Delphine,
Hmm.
I'm giving you this without any kind of check because I would think someone like you would know this.
Hmm.
You are completely correct that you could travel down the Gaul River and probably go somewhere at the river's end. There must be some kind of city with a harbor and the likes to get a ship and basically sail all around the coast and sail back to Sharn. But what you would also know is to get out on the sea for that, there's a bit of a strait that you have to sail through.
Hmm.
And that would get you past the coastal areas of the lands that are now known as the Morning, which is this place in the heart of the continent that was completely destroyed due to a strange phenomenon and was also the reason for the end of the war. Now, you know the stories of things that happen in the Mournlands, that you should not travel by foot through them, but you could imagine that ships that travel past the coast of the Mournlands might also experience some dangers traveling around that way.
Hmm.
I mean, are you scared of Aurea?
No, not scared. Let's say I'm just a little bit more careful when it comes to people like her. Especially if we have an item in our possession that is way too powerful for anyone. I mean, I could throw it into the next lake and it could still do any harm there.
But do we really want to return this item? If this contact of Aurea is doing something with it, do we truly want to support that?
We don't know what they're doing. You're conjecturing it'll be something negative and harmful.
From that, what we know, what Aurea told us, it's a research on the interaction between the plants.
Research.
And to be fair, that's a little bit of above that what I could imagine doing with such items.
So we might want to further look into that. I am not sure if we get back to Sharn and we hand this over. Is that just going to lead us to a next task that is going to support something that we're not sure what its actual end result will be?
To be fair, everything we're doing is leading to the next task. And we don't know what is going to happen or what happens with the things that we are doing.
I prefer not to be a babysitter of an artifact. And furthermore,
And
we
I
have a
prefer
name
to get
now.
paid for the work that I've done.
And we have a name now. We did not have this before.
Devin, you're very quiet.
Well, there's part of me that wants to entertain her also because I am very curious what she's planning, and if we don't play into it, we'll never know. She obviously has some connection to Rebus here, but I can't figure out why she's denying it. If you were mad at someone, you wouldn't hide that. If you had a wonderful history with a person, you would want them to remember that. You don't hide things unless you feel like they should be hidden. They're things you don't want coming out.
My people have made a tradition of swallowing their emotions.
And how's that gotten them so far? You agree with all of their practices?
No, but nonetheless it occurs.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying, is what's behind it. Why? I want to know. But I want Rebus in danger. No, hold on, wait. I don't. I'm curious to find out what happens, but I don't want Rebus in danger.
I'm glad to hear that, Typhoon.
That is what I meant to say, I promise. Past experience, ignoring that, I don't want you in danger.
No, only that of your entire family by deciding to keep on that artifact. That's a different conversation. I think the safest place is staring down the risk at hand and being near Aurea. We're both clearly playing whatever game this is in. And we are the ones disadvantaged by not participating.
We are also the ones that we know everything we have at our disposal. We are 4 people.
Oh, great, you can count.
I can count, yes, thank you. Wonderful. She is her 2 Warfit. Sorry, a lot of drinks. Her 2 Warforged. Senka, that's 4. Perhaps they convinced Tontul to go with her, or maybe, like I suspected, he's been a plant this whole time. That's 5. She's also rich, powerful, has connections, and comes from a major playing family. There could be 10 people 2 miles down the road waiting for us.
Is that better? Is that easier or harder than surviving an archway? Than surviving giant purple worms and extraplanar abominations? Than being in the middle of 2 warring nations? Than almost being burnt alive by the fires of another plane? Big deal.
I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. I'm just saying we need to be aware there is potentially more than just her or Senka or her Warforged stabbing us in the back.
Were you not to whip? Delphine, were you not aware? Rebus, were you not aware? Oh my goodness. You poor, kind-hearted people. You were not aware.
Dython's gonna stand up,
Are you making a
walk
joke
towards
out of
the
us?
door. He's just gonna say,
Dyson clearly is.
I'm taking
No.
I'm taking my pillow and I throw it at the back of Dython's head.
you know what? Never mind. You do what you're going to do. I'm going to bed.
We should accompany Aurea.
Yeah, well, this is basically a single room with 4 beds, so...
I'll go rent my own. It's fine. He'll go downstairs and rent his own room.
Silvery barbs.
I mean, you get a pillow thrown at you, so...
I don't remember what saving throw it was, but I think it's a 12.
Silvery
You-
barbs.
As Dython, as you're noticing that you're being a little bit
Mocked.
mocked. Thank you.
I'll say it. I'll say it.
You're getting up, going
You're not a
towards
bard.
the
You don't have vicious mockery.
you there's a pillow flung towards your direction, and Rain, you say at that time that you should go with Aurea, if I understood that correctly.
I'm saying we should accompany Aurea.
To be fair, and this is just my own point of view, out of just many personal reasons, I think it's easier to assume the risk of some outer planar things, entities, magic, whatever, than
Me.
besides that, than getting on the motives of a person. Because people can turn on you very quick without giving any hints.
And water is wet.
And risk can be easily calculated if you know what you're going into than you're not knowing what you're going into.
Let's face it then.
Rebus at this point looks around and also looks towards Dython. And then looks to the rest of the group and they say, you know how exhausted I am from just all of this not knowing and this guessing and this mystery. When we were in Thelanis in the Manifest Zone, I felt kind of fed up with this situation. And I think that Aurea knows things, but that we can also not trust her.
Well, you know, there's quite a problem to the rule situation. Like, basically in the roots of this. With the not knowing about anything. Because we're also just a group who doesn't really know about each other.
I gather up the pillows that would have been on my bed,
Hmm.
and I walk them over to Rebus, and I place them like next to them. And I stand a bit aside, and I'm like, I'm glad to hear that, Rebus. I think that should be rewarded. When you have feelings that require physicality, please resort to the pillows, as it's been a very tiring travel. The last time we rode in Aurea's carriage, I did have one extra little peek in. And she had a thought about you. And I kept this because you kept saying you weren't sure and that you didn't want to know. You're now telling us, you're telling yourself that you are tired of not knowing. You're willing to risk and feel emotions that lead you into actions. Rebus, my dear, I'm sorry to say. Not only does she remember you, but the feelings she harbors towards you and are hiding from you and all of us are those of displeasure is far too diplomatic to place it. I brace. I kind of put my arms up, like expecting, like I've seen Rebus's strength, and if this pillow is coming towards me with that, I'm just like, but like she still stands there. She's not like moving away.
Rebus is quiet. And they shift their weight a bit on the bed. And they just say, we have a journey ahead in the morning. We should rest. And they seem to go immobile into their resting state.
I think I'm still going downstairs.
Did anyone else expected a little bit more reaction?
Dyken's not there.
Oh, I thought we caught them at the door. That's why.
Yeah.
Oh no, Dyken like eventually left. Like
Okay.
Yeah.
he walked out.
Because I was gonna say like I want some of that some cheesy flatbread. To Delphine's question, I think they're still figuring out how to process. Feelings and anger is one step, but it's best to, figure out other ways of processing unpleasant news and memories as well.
To be fair, you kept it quite long from them.
It took them this long to openly show that they were ready. They said they did not want to know. Those were their words.
True.
Hey, to face the risk. And there won't be a squeaking wheel.
Well, okay, I'm giving in to that fuck.
God damn it. I'll keep you safe.
What brings you to the idea that you need to keep me safe?
No person can stand alone. I like watching your backside.
Well, a lot of people do.
I'm gonna go check in on our other people. Sleep well. And I go downstairs and look for Dyson to make sure they're okay, but stuff has happened in the meantime.
Yeah, Dyson, where have you gone? Where have you gone? What happened?
I think Dyson just like sat at the bar for a little bit, probably having a couple more drinks before getting another room. Well, seeing if there was one available, I guess.
All right. There will be like still a small room, hardly more than a cupboard in size, available. There's a bed and a little cleaning corner in it. One of the smaller places, but you would still be able to get that room. After you had a few of the drinks you had and went back up to go to your room, you see Rain walking through the hallway as you put the key into the door of the room.
Good evening.
You really don't want to spend the night with us?
No.
Shame. Slumber parties are much more fun with more people.
As much as I enjoy your company, I think I just need a break. Just a little bit.
Speaking of breaks, will you go and be visiting her anytime soon?
Not yet.
Okay. So I need to hang on to the souvenir a little longer.
I think the more often I go, the more complicated things would get.
Pish posh. I mean, we could have enacted plan D, E, and F when we both are disguised as the wait service.
You know, I did like the idea of that one, but at the same time, I don't look good in a bow tie, so I don't think that would work very well.
I look great in one.
Oh yes, I absolutely imagine would, but it just doesn't fit my frame quite right.
But you didn't let me change your frame. I could have done that for you.
That's an option.
No, I cannot actually. It's self,
Oh,
not
okay.
others.
Well, either way. I don't soon, but not yet. If I do, I will let you know, because I will probably need your help again.
Glad to hear it. And if you are writing any more letters to her, I'm curious what you would tell her about this latest adventures and what sort of trouble you were willing to open yourself into.
I think she's aware of how hard-headed I can be.
No. She would have gotten angry with you.
Oh, I believe so. I think she just wouldn't be news, I guess.
Really? That wouldn't be news. Or you have been in situations before where potentially cursed artifacts have made temptations to you, affording you a shortcut to the very boring and monotonous dreams of power and glory for Clan Shadowmane?
Any ideas of glory I have are of my own.
So find your own way to achieve them. Not through some stupid little trinkets. Good night, Titan.
Good night, Rain.
With that, everyone sooner or later settles in for the night. You enjoy a good rest here at the Staggered Tribex, either together in a room or in your own room. And before you know it, the sun has set once again. A new day on Rhukaan Draal. What is your approach going to be for today? How are you going to travel back to report your completed mission?
I guess we are traveling with Aurea. I want to make this clear. I'm not a fan of this decision. I'm not a fan at all.
Makes me love it even more.
Is Dython in support of this decision?
Dython is conflicted, but like we'll go. He's not gonna leave the party.
Right. I'm pretty sure Dython is not alone in that conflicted feeling of this choice. But after a good breakfast, the party meets up with Aurea outside, close to her carriage, where also her two Warforged are, who currently seem to be busy to loading up some crates on top of the carriage and binding them down with some ropes. Aurea is glad to hear that you made her choice, and she once again is clear in that she can, for now, take you as far as Sterngate, which was also the city that you flew to on the way here by airship, and then were dropped down into the city, and from there joined a caravan to Rhukaan Draal. So you will not be traveling the entire way to Sharn back with her, but at least for a few days. The doors to the carriage are opened. Aurea invites you all in, and it is inside as luxurious and comfortable as you remember it. Cushions and blankets, and also hovering trays with various kinds of sweets and also savory dishes, and various bottles of different liquors and drinks ready for the journey. And more than enough space for all of you in here. As you go one by one in, Aurea also notices that Rebus is with the group at this point.
Detect dots. Subtle magic.
Surface thoughts only?
For now.
For now.
Marking stuff off.
You read the surface thoughts of Aurea, and as you see her see Rebus, Aurea on the outside smiles and says, the missing 25%.
Who was missing
Good to have you.
a lot of their faceplate for the first time to Aurea.
Yeah,
Who was
that's
missing
true.
their
Yep.
faceplate.
Right. And while you see the surface interaction, you also read the surface thoughts. And on there, you see again this image of a happy young person. But you do sense this feeling of anger. And the deepest, rawest,
Blame?
blame is mingled in there. And especially for something that happens on the surface level of someone's thoughts, it feels raw.
Okay. I'll keep it to surface because Rain believes that she's kind of understands what this is about because we've seen this in memories.
Gotcha. Rebus just nods at Aurea and says, "Thank you, miss, for offering us a ride once again." And then they step into the carriage. Once all of you are inside, Aurea herself gets in there, and both of the Warforged get in there as well, taking up positions on close to the doors of the carriage. Aurea gets a bit comfortable, takes a cookie that is on one of the trays. We should be covering quite some ground within a day. I don't think it would take us a few days to get across Dargoon, over the mountains, and back to Sterngate. We'll see where we can rest up. I have all the means available to provide us with safe camp, and my bodyguards will make sure that we stay here safe as well. Typhoon?
Point of order.
Uh-huh.
Could I get a letter sent to Sterngate that would beat us there through, like, courier?
If this was a regular carriage, maybe. But this is not a regular carriage.
This one travels quicker.
Yes.
Okay. Never mind them.
Has anyone else the feeling that we are getting stabbed in the night if we're doing a break?
I mean, that's literally what I said would happen.
Oh, yeah, true, yeah.
Who's to say Rain is not the one doing the stabbing, or Rebus is not the one doing the stabbing?
Oh, yeah, that makes it much better.
Makes it much more exciting.
Before you know it, the cart starts moving. No friction underneath the iron frame at the bottom of the cart. You feel it turn out of this little square that's in front of the staggered tribex. Through the windows, you can see a few curious onlookers. Even in a world like Eberron, it is not a daily occurrence to see a cart like this.
I wave. This.
While Rain does the royal wave, you pull out of the streets of the heart of Rhukaan Draal, move through the outer quarters of this majestic city, and out back on the road. Aurea sometimes has a little bit of idle chit-chat with whoever is up for a bit of chit-chat, but also occupies her time with reading books, flipping through notes and papers. And for your first days of travel, you are indeed offered safe night's rest, tents in which to sleep, and you are treated very well by Aurea. After night's rest, there's breakfast for you. In the evening and in the afternoon, meals are available. The Warforged of Aurea helping with setting up camps and preparing the food, though most of it seems to be kind of pre-prepared and only needs a little bit of magical heating that Aurea is capable of providing. Unless any one of you wants to do anything during this journey, Aurea will just make sure that you're getting safely to Sterngate.
Rain provides the chit chat every now and then as well, since Aurea has now outed herself as an enthusiast of planar of the planes.
And Aurea here and there asks a few questions about in what way it manifests. She doesn't want to be too prodding about it, but more a little like surface idle chatter about it, all under the guise of getting a bit of picture of Rain for her friend Nigel.
I think any arcane discussion that Rain would have with Aurea would be the kind of thing that might make any sort of like wizard type academic like, how dare you disrespect the laws of this? Because Rain as a sorcerer completely just bends things to her will without the onerous research that normal magic practitioners have to go through.
How dare you go against academic knowledge? This is not the proper way of doing this. And you get a few of those responses out of Aurea, who, as far as you know, is a bit of can work some magic herself, but is not some kind of master archmage or something. She has some understanding of a few cantrips and lesser spells, but she also is sometimes taken a bit aback by your descriptions of how your magic works, and takes notes of that as well. You eventually, after a few days of travel in this luxurious and safe carriage, you have crossed the Seawall Mountains again, and they're back in this city of Sterngate, a frontier city that is guarded by various elements. There's some forces of Breland that are stationed here. Other mercenary groups have some of their stations here as well. It is the closest thing to some kind of a logistical crossroads in this area. Aurea gets the carriage to stop in the center of Sterngate. And her Warforged open the doors, help you all, for those of you who want to be helped out of the carriage. Once all of you are out, she also gets out, straightens her clothing a bit, looks around. Thank you very much for keeping me company in these days. I'm glad you took my offer. And I can tell you that Nigel would be very glad when I tell him what pleasant individuals are helping him complete his work.
Maybe. And I just kind of like waggle my eyebrows to Delphine and Dython. And I say out loud, maybe we could even cut out the middleman. Why go through the guild, though?
Is that something that you would be considering?
Depends on the price, depends on the access, depends on many things.
You see Aurea, as you put forth this idea, her eyes looking around a bit, and she's percolating that thought in her head. I think I'll let Nigel know about that. Not sure how the Clifftop Adventurers Guild thinks about this kind of headhunting, but if you're open for the opportunity and Nigel agrees with that, we might be able to arrange something. I'm assuming that if I were to try to reach out to you, I would be able to find you in Sharn.
Yeah, and it's definitely a thing that you might find Rain in Sharn. For the rest of us, it depends if we're there or not.
I believe that you all have a busy life indeed. I have my contacts in the City of Towers. Should something come up through Nigel, I will let you know. Have a safe journey further back. I wish I could take you all the way there, but my business takes me for now a little bit more northwards. And she does a quick curtsy in front of all of you, looks each of you quickly in the face, and then steps back into a carriage, her warforged following her. The doors are closed and the carriage starts floating away as the four of you are left here. Out here in Sterngate. Many different ways of getting back home. And I assume our adventurers are capable of finding a way back. Especially after surviving the trials in Dargoon, city of Rhukaan Draal, and a manifest zone of Thelanis. Another object of planar power in their possession. Another object probably going into the collection of some erratic academic who is working on his great masterpiece. An academic who seems to have ties to a woman that knows about Rebus' past. A woman that has ties to a powerful member of a house who might also know something. And in all of these events, our adventurers are still following wherever their own past is leading them. Whatever kind of complications that might bring. For now, the biggest complication is getting back to Sharn. But what comes after that? We'll find out soon. But not in this Chapter 4. As we close Chapter 4 of the Convergence Manifesto.
And as we close this chapter, our player characters go up to level 5.
Oh, finally! Oh.
Alrighty.
Yay!
Yeah, so you had
Two
some
attacks,
rightful you had some rightful distrust towards Aurea, but you did wrap up the adventure for now, and that's all for Chapter 4.
Yay!
And level 5 would think, that we get into extra attack territory for some of the characters, and we're also
Level 2
going into...
spells.
For all the
Where-
marshals, basically.
Yeah, and I think we're also going into level 3 spells for the sorcerer with level 5.
I believe so. Let's verify that, because that would be nice.
Oh, no.
Sorceress and unprepared caster, so I get to finally swap a spell.
Oh, that's interesting. I could cast Augury.
Yeah, level 3 spells.
Hooray!
Level 3 spells indeed.
Shenaniganing increasing.
Level 5 is the power bump. So, let's see what that means. As you go level 5, you also go into Chapter 5 of the campaign. That is, if the party does not want to do anything else, but that is for us to discuss internally to see what the party wants to go and do.
Would Chapter 5 start with the assumption that we have handed in this artifact, or that's to be determined?
That is a valid question.
Because I would be interested for
To
their
be fair,
morning.
the fiend still has the artifact, and we'll make sure that no one else touches that thing, because we saw what happened. So, and as she is used to basically completing a mission, getting the money, and then being left alone and having her fun with all the money that she has and stuff like this. So she would make sure that the item goes to the person who basically gave the quest.
I think since we will have a little bit of, as is tradition, downtime, both in-game and out-of-game between chapters, we will have some internal talks on what exactly what exactly the party would have done with the item, and also what would be interesting to see is where the players would like to go with this, because I think there has been a few, especially in this chapter, a few things that, should be food for thought on which direction the players and their characters want to go with this. But that is something for us to discuss and then hopefully later show our audience. Not next week, though. As is tradition between chapters in our campaign, we are taking next week off then, which means that next week on the 30th, we won't be here, but the week after that, on the 6th of September, we will be back with the start of the next chapter of this adventure.
Wow.
And before we go and look for transportation back to Sharn, are there any kind of announcements, updates we would like to share?
I guess I'll reiterate because the deadline is Sunday, the 28th of August. If you or anyone is interested in GMing for Roll for Good, which is a European-based community of TTRPG loving nerds who through much hard effort and experience, professionalism, put together this amazing, well-oiled, expertly produced show that features people from all around, mostly Europe. It's great to see a lot of diversity in there as well. POCs, please sign up because I want more of that kind of diversity in there too. And signups end on the 28th, and the form can be found on their Twitter, which is twitter.com/roll4good. And sometime thereafter, player signups will open once we confirm what those games are. And if you also want to help out with the team for their event, which will be 22nd October, it's a Saturday for like 11 hours at least, then links are also available via the Twitter to you want to help out, be a moderator, you want to help out and retweet, are you artistically talented and you can provide some cool designs, but help with production, etc. We have a team available and willing to train you, teach you the ropes, and if you can provide some of your energies, that'd be so nice because it's for charity. And the charity will be announced TM very soon, tomorrow. It'll be announced tomorrow.
All right. Indeed, links in the chat to specifically the post for the GM signups, but also check out the Twitter of Roll for Good for all the other forms and things you can sign up and what they're putting together. Thanks for sharing that, Ida. Anything else going on?
On my side, a personal project, I'm in the middle of getting the translation of the prismatic veil ready for the German crowd. It's a lot of work, that to say, so that will take at least another week to finish, but I hope soon this will be up on the skills for everyone. It's a lot. It's 44 pages.
we can find them with all of your other products on on your DM's Guild page, which you are under on Caroline Kunze, and put the link in chat right there for all of the great stuff that Caro has put out on DM's Guild in both English and German. Well, I don't have any specific announcement at this point, but I am very excited on a little project that I'm involved in that we don't have any specific things yet, but I'm very excited about it. And keep an eye on my socials for any kind of updates. And yeah, hope to be sharing some more details about that later.
It's almost September.
Mm-hmm.
We have another
Yeah.
project to work on too. Oh, yeah, I was talking to. Yeah, details later. Oh God. Oh God.
Time flies. Time flies. Even when you're not dealing with planar time warps. Talking about time, I think that was our time for today.
Aw.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks everyone for joining us here at the table. It was once again fun running for you fantastic people. And we're going to take next week off. And after that, we'll be back in 2 weeks then for our next chapter. Thanks. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. And see you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.